Chardi Kala is not really about the future. It's about the present. I last if I ground my life in Chardi Kala. Sikhi was never about beliefs that we hold. It was about a way of moving through the world, wondering about others, grieving with others, fighting for others, breathing with others, loving others, rising up with others in the spirit of Chardi Kala. I think if we can try to live into it now in our small ways, I call them pockets of revolutionary love. If we can create our own pockets of revolutionary love in our gurdwaras, in our homes, in our classrooms, in our communities, then revolutions don't just happen in big, grand moments. They happen in places where people are coming together to inhabit a new way of being. So maybe if enough of us, and this is really why I call on Sikhs to play a leading role here, if enough of us are inhabiting the world as it ought to be, then we can presage the world to come for all of us.
And then we can all learn to see no stranger.
Yes.
Right.
And we do it in Chardi Kala.
We do it.
Right? That's what our gurus taught us too. Like, we do it in Chardi Kala. Like, what does that mean? Do it in Chardi Kala. When it's what there. I come home from a memorial, from another mass shooting, from another death, from another, like, how are we supposed to stay in Chardi Kala when it is this dark and this dire? What does that mean? And can I tell you, I learned the meaning of Chardi Kala, really the meaning, when I was in Oak Creek. Baba Punjab Singh, many of us know, was a great orator before he was shot by a white supremacist in the Oak Creek Gurdwara in 2012. And he did not die. He did not die, but he was so wounded that he was paralyzed. He could not move. He could not speak. And not just 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years, but almost 8 years in this condition. And every year I would make my pilgrimage and I would go to his hospital bed and I would sit next to him and I would take his hand, and his eyes were always so vibrant, just bright eyes. And I would braid his hair and we would sing shabads. And every time his son, Ragvinder would ask him, Papaji, are you in Chardi Kala? And this Babaji, who cannot move, who cannot speak, he can only blink his eyes once for no and twice for yes. He would always blink his eyes, yes, I'm in Chardi Kala.
Wow.
And just so I think if Baba Punjab Singh could stay in Chardi Kala,
right,
then so can I, and then so can all of us. Chardi Kala is usually translated as like optimism or relentless hope or endless. And I used to translate it like that too. But what I learned from Oak Creek and from him was that Chardi Kala is not really about the future. It's about the present. It's about rising, this ever rising spirits, even in darkness, this joyfulness, even in the struggle, even in the labor. Baba Punjab Singh died in that condition. And yet his love and his insistence on loving and staying in Chardi Kala outlasts even his life. And it's a lesson to us.
Yes.
I know that injustice has gone on long before I was born, and I know it will go on after I die. So how do I last if I won't be able to live long enough to see the fruits of my labor? I last if I ground my life in Chardi Kala, in joyfulness. And that gives me energy to keep showing up and doing my part in the labor. And then the labor is not just a means to an end. It's an end in itself. It's a way of being in the world. And Sikhi was never about beliefs that we hold. It was about a way of moving through the world, wondering about others, grieving with others, fighting for others, breathing with others, loving others, rising up with others in the spirit of Chardi Kala.